Welcome into the Hoops Gap. We got a packed show today. We're going to talk about Alex Karaban's last dance with a trip to his hometown of Boston, and also a homecoming of sorts for AJ Dybantsa, the lottery pick headed to BYU. You're on the Hoops Gap.
Let's get it. 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 Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
How we doing today, folks? Welcome to the Hoops Cap Pod. Welcome in. We're going to talk legacy versus lottery, AK, AJ, Solo, Rob Wright, the whole deal. BYU UConn was just announced on a non-conference slate. First reported by, I believe, John Rothstein. Shout out to John. We're zeroed in on that game because, look, it's one city, two stars, so to speak, because I know outside of the UConn universe, people don't look at Alex Karaban as a star. We do. It's fine. AJ is absolutely going to be a lottery pick. But what's interesting to me is some of the storylines around this game. And let's jump into those storylines. Yeah, it's likely said, I mean, TD Garden is the likely destination where UConn was once a pretty good team winning in the Elite Eight versus that poor Illinois team that got drubbed on that 30-0 run. But we'll go into the stars of this, right? 30 miles from where he grew up, back in the same floor where he helped UConn punch his ticket to the Final Four a couple Marches ago. Alex Karaban is getting one final homecoming. This time, it's not just about Alex, although it will be in the UConn universe. Across the court, a 6'9" forward from Brockton named AJ Dybantsa, the number one player in America, the presumed top pick in the 2026 NBA draft. But this time, I want to talk about Alex because the Southborough kid played his prep ball in New England. TD Garden isn't just another venue. It's his venue where he's seen some major triumphs, but also a huge Celtics fan, Red Sox fan, Boston sports fan in general. He was 2-0 there during UConn's 2024 NCAA tournament run, including that 30-point dismantling of San Diego State and the unforgettable 30-0 blitz against Illinois in the Elite Eight. He's back for this one last season. I shamelessly thought it was his time to go, but I in the season, I'm going to brand a segment called Happy to Be Wrong, where I make a proclamation, and if I'm wrong, I'll be happy about it. And this is one of those statements that is 1,000% happy that Alex Karaban is back for one last season, his fifth, technically, a guy who could have tested the NBA waters, but chose to run it back. Probably smartly on his decision. I stand by my thoughts of if there was a time to go, it would be now because, look, I don't think his draft stock is going to improve much. But hopefully I eat my words because I think if he goes just crazy this year and shows that he's the type of player that could have made that jump from sophomore to junior, now junior to senior, maybe I'm wrong and he creeps into that first round. We'll see. He is undoubtedly the type of player that will benefit from the new recruits and the new players that UConn has brought in. So this will be kind of like almost like a senior night game. I know BYU will have fans there, but let's be honest. That place is going to be Stores North. It's going to be loud. He's not super flashy, but he is absolutely connected to this organization. He is the connective tissue that Dan Hurley has essentially said none of this would have happened without him. And in that press conference where I was there and asked him those questions that made him tear up, you got to believe that he thought that was his last time seeing Alex in a UConn uniform. So I'm sure he's very excited about him being back. And obviously with a loaded roster, right? So you got Solo Ball, first team All-American, potentially, loaded season coming in. Jalen Stort, Terrace Reed Jr. coming off a 6th Man of the Year award where he's going to get a lot more run this year. I think Jalen and Terrace are absolutely going to have monster years. They added 2 of the most impactful transfer pickups you can in Silas Damari Jr. From Georgia and Malachi Smith from Dayton. Both play different roles. I hate to keep putting these labels on players because I did it last year. And when it didn't happen, people definitely jumped on that. But in terms of the players, not me, I don't care. You can, razz me all you want. But Silas is as close to a Tristan Newton clone as you could get. I think he's probably a little more talented, but whether that equates to winning is another thing. Malachi Smith is a more talented version of Hassan Diarra. And having those two experienced, tough, ball-dominant guards who really fit Dan Hurley's system like a glove. And then you have the freshman class. Obviously, Braylon Mullins, McDonald's All-American, 5-star, was the biggest riser in the 5-star area from his junior to senior year. Mr. Basketball in Indiana. I mean, again, like, how bad does it hurt for the state of Indiana to lose a Mr. Basketball to the state of Connecticut? It's mind-boggling to me. But that's the state of Indiana basketball. Maybe not the Pacers, but Eric Ryba, a 7-footer with absolute stretch potential and shot blocking instincts. Definitely need to work on his physicality, but they're deep. They really are. We had Jacob Furphy on as an interview, and I think he is super going to be the type of player that people are going to love, and also the type of player that people are going to go, how did I get beat by that guy off the dribble? He just has that kind of instinct, that knack, and I think I'm already calling that he's going to have a monster year. Before we get into the AJ stuff, the Huskies are also playing Arizona, Texas, defending national champion Florida this year. But the BYU game, maybe, and I want to say it's personal, but I think there's some thoughts to this. I feel like I'm going to play a clip, and I don't think Dan Hurley is specifically talking about AJ. This was an interview he did well before he offered all these guys. He offered Malik Thomas and others that ended up going other places. But you just wonder when Dan Hurley misses on a player, if it's really a miss or if it's just like they asked for a little too much, or maybe they told on themselves, as you hear in this clip.
I'm an old school coach in terms of the tone I take with my players in practice, the expectations with effort, the focus on winning and we over me.
Like, what does that mean?
Have they played on 7 different travel teams? Have they transferred to 4 or 5 different high schools?
Now, in this particular clip, he's really talking about the nomads of high school and AAU and EYBL and all that, how they blame other people for their problems. AJ's not that. I will 1000% say that. Although it's almost commonplace to play 3 different high schools nowadays, like AJ did. His route to BYU was almost set in stone. I mean, he's at Prolific Prep in Needham, Massachusetts, or St. Sebastian's in Needham, Massachusetts, and he goes to Prolific Prep in Napa Valley. Then he transfers to Utah Prep, which is in Utah, and then obviously he gets connected with the BYU Cougars and Kevin Young. So that's not who Dan's talking about. However, this culture of accountability and old school mentality that UConn has adopted is rooted in Alex Karaban, and also rooted around the players that they bring in from a freshman perspective, and also from a transfer mentality. If someone transfers out from UConn, it is not typically because they are a bad player or that they didn't fit, but maybe because they couldn't handle the accountability piece that Dan is talking about. I'll let him finish this statement.
When you talk to the parents in the recruiting process, are they constantly complaining about the coaches after a bad game, or are they, sending you a text or you having a conversation, where their son has got to do more, he's got to play harder, he's got to work on his skills. They tell on themselves, they drop hints, and you've got the wrong type of kind of people in that inner circle around your players. They'll sink your program.
So I want to comment on that because, hello. I think a lot of people believe, in particular, folks that were really negative on some of the transfers that left just now, not Aiden, but more specifically to Ahmad Noel, that he's not talking about that because this is prior to Ahmad being on his team. But I think that's the type of player and surroundings of people that he is trying to stay away from. And so, listen, it's hard to argue with winning. And Dan Hurley has done not much else but win titles at UConn. So, yes, do I remember the 2018, 2019, teams that were not very good, floundering, and then his "you better get us now" moments. Do I absolutely remember that? Yes. Did I believe him at the time? I'd be lying if I said yes. But that's the beauty of Dan Hurley. He believes in himself. He believes in what his team is doing. He believes in his program and what he's created. And that I 100% resonate with, because just like I believe in myself and in the culture I'm creating with my team, I want to mirror that same mentality, that same mindset that Dan Hurley has. So just an interesting clip that I thought, since we were talking about AJ and his ability to be as good as he is. And listen, he's a 6'9" wing. He's already got a pro-ready body. They just don't come around often with this. This kid is not falling out of trees, right? You're not getting him at I'll use my my old school, Maloney High School is not getting 6'9" wings. Bristol Central won Donovan Clingan every 30, 40 years. These guys don't show up very often. So when they do, everyone's looking at him. UConn offered him early in the process. There was some buzz. Maybe there was some potential, but he was looking for a stepping stone. And I'm not saying that a lot of these players that are one and done. Braylon Mullins is potentially a one and done. Steph Castle was a one and done. But there's a way that you can go about doing things that I feel like Dan Hurley feels comfortable with you coming in and being like, all right, you'll be here for 1 year. But if it's about, hey, how can you feature me? Because that was the talk early. How can you feature me in your offense? How am I going to look to scouts? If you're already the number one pick in the draft, I don't think that really needs to be talked about. And I think that turned off the staff. I'm not saying that because I know that. I'm saying that because I know these guys, and I'm saying that this is what's been reported. But for the fans in Boston, I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity to see a guy that's going to be playing in the NBA for years to come. Rob Wright's going to be involved in this game, the Baylor transfer, who there was some thoughts about him potentially coming to UConn. Solo Ball, who, maybe flirted with some draft stuff, but eventually obviously always wanted to be back at UConn. I think the atmosphere is going to be electric, and the ripple effect for recruiting to potentially, what this means from a net rankings perspective, because UConn and BYU are going to be likely both top 10 at the time, maybe top 5, each of them. I think it's going to be awesome. If you love hoops, circle that date when it drops. I think it's November 7th. I could be wrong. Make sure you check on that. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about something that I feel like is almost a little too generous and hard to believe, with UConn's men's and women's basketball programs being a little generous with a regional former rival. We're going to talk about that after the break. All right, you're back on the Hoops Cat Pod, powered by Big East Energy. Make sure you check out BigEastEnergy.com. Check out this hat. Hoops Capital is definitely available on the BigEastEnergy.com website. It's fantastic. It drop ships right to you. I don't have a promo code for you, but go check it out. They're reasonably priced and they're embroidered. It's a great hat. Other things too as well. But look, before I end this show, it's a mini pod. October 13th, Columbus Day weekend, both my son's birthday and my wife's birthday weekend, so I will not be there. Unfortunately, it'd be kind of cool. They're playing an exhibition doubleheader at Mohegan Sun. AZ Fudd, Sarah Strong, Alex Karaban, Solo Ball, all suiting up in Uncasville, not for a ranked showdown or a Final Four bid or maybe, a glorified scrimmage, but it's kind of to help this poor little regional mid-major power that's been stuck in neutral for close to a decade. This is UConn tossing a bone to their old Big East frenemies. It's a nice nod to tradition that doesn't really mean much, but it's not pretend it's anything more than a warm-up for these two programs expected to enter the season top 5 in the country. UConn women likely 1 or 2, the men somewhere anywhere between 2 and 5. The men destroyed Rhode Island in the same game last year. Now BC, Boston College, gets their turn in the fire. But hey, it's a win for fans that remember the glory days of the Big East. I myself, obviously, the owner of Big East Energy Network and the big energy media company, now is probably of the only teams in the Big East that I would not want to see back in the Big East. Boston College would be the one. But hey, it's an exhibition. I'm excited for it because, anytime you can help a team out and throw them a bone and essentially give a little charity to the Little Sisters of the Poor, I'm always down to do that. And for Boston College, I think potentially you might have an opportunity to beat us in football. But as far as basketball goes, I mean, we might just throw our third and second stringers and just kind of show you what it's like to be a well-rounded program. Anyway, BC, I don't love you, and there's no secret there. That's our programs, both of our programs, preseason tune-up, and another program's probably biggest game of the year. So make sure you circle that Super Bowl for Boston College. But I'm done for the day. Really, this show was about the Alex Karaban, AJ Dybantsa matchup in the Boston Showdown. That will be an off-season matchup, and wanted to throw a little razz at the BC folks. This has been another episode of the Hoops Cat Pod, powered by Big East Energy. We're always going to be around, and summer schedule is going to be a couple times a week with news breaking opportunities to jump in and do some mini pods, solo pods, interviews. We've got some great programming coming up. St. John's podcast is dropping tonight. We're on the verge of getting a Villanova pod that is going to hit the airwaves likely in a week or two. Could be a Providence down the road. So if you're a fan of Big East basketball, this is the place for you. No better place than the Big East. No better place than Big East Energy. We'll see you soon. We're out.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby.